morning, everyone, and welcome to our backyard. This morning's video, I want to talk about the hummingbird migration and the plants that will really bring hummingbirds into your yard. I apologize for the garbage truck that you can hear in the background. It is Saturday morning and our garbage is coming around. So you'll hear that intermittently probably throughout the video. Hopefully you can hear the little squeaking that's going on. We have a few hummingbirds that are in the yard and they are at all of the flowers. My name is Crystal and I garden south of Houston in zone 9B. And what you see here are flowers that attract hummingbirds. You'll also see that I have feeders that I will put out. I have 4 feeders out right now because we're kind of in the throes of this migration. Let me zoom in. So the hummingbirds are fun because they are gearing up to put on a lot of body weight for their migration down south. So typically what happens first is the males come through first and then the females and juveniles. And we've been seeing all 3 in the yard. And it's been a lot of fun because hummingbirds are very solitary birds. They do not migrate together. They are singletons, if you will. And so they're pretty protective of their territories and they will escort each other in and out of their territories. When I say their territory, what I mean is they claim an area when they're coming through. And if you have a lot of rich flowers for them, a lot of nectar flowers, and they see them, they're going to stop by. So we're having a lot of fun. One of the things that I want to share with you is this vine. They absolutely love this vine. Let me get a little closer. This vine is our cardinal climber. I grow this from seed every year, and this time is when it absolutely flourishes. Late August through September, through October, we have these beautiful red elongated blooms. These blooms are full of nectar, and the hummingbirds absolutely love them. It's their favorite color, which is red, and it has an incredible amount of nectar in it. Interestingly, it lasts one day and then it will close up. As you can see here, this one is closed up and then it's done. But this just blooms and blooms and blooms, and the hummingbirds absolutely love it. It's so inexpensive. I collect the seed every year and I just reseed. And so it's a very inexpensive vine. And I have the green foliage all summer, and then come hummingbird migration, I have these wonderful blooms. I'm going to come out to the front again. And I've dedicated this 5-piece trellis, the 5-part trellis here, to all of cardinal climber. And also on the north side of our garden, I grow it along the fence, and it just grows up the fishing line that we have a pattern on the fence. So it's really easy and it's fun. I'm able to grow a lot of this from seed, and it's a hummingbird favorite. I don't know, we probably have about 10 in the yard at the moment, and they're coming around and squeaking, and it's a lot of fun. So as I go through these plants, I do want to mention, I'm going to put at the top the playlist on the Cardinal Climber. So for those of you that want a very inexpensive, beautiful vine, I would recommend that. I've had so much luck through the years with Cardinal Climber vine. The next plant that they really love, that they go to all the time, is Kufia. And this Kufia is called David Verity. The variety is the David Verity, and it's considered a very large Kufia. Hummingbirds really like that tubular flower. And this flower is no exception. It's orange, it's easily seen, and it flowers prolifically. So Kufia is a huge boon if you have this in your garden. And then you'll see right now is when the Mexican bush sage, or the Salvia leucantha, is really coming into its own. It flowers a little bit in the spring, but then right now is the time that it really, really starts to shine. And the hummingbirds have been really all over all of the salvia. So salvia is a huge plus to have in your garden if you are trying to attract pollinators. Another salvia that's just starting to bloom beautifully is in the shade garden, and this is called Salvia madrensis. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? It's a yellow. It's a butter yellow color, and the hummingbirds have been all over these flowers also. They're kind of hard to see because against the backdrop here, so that's why I wanted to get in a little bit closer. These are going to be blooming, opening their blooms very, very shortly, and the hummingbirds have been all over these blooms. Of course, any type of salvia, most of the salvias, the hummingbirds absolutely love. The reason I wanted to point this out is because fall is when Salvia madrensis really starts coming into its own. You might say fall. We don't have fall in the Houston area yet, which is true, but the days are getting shorter. The sun is changing on the angle, and our migrating birds, our migrating butterflies, they all detect the change, and so do the plants. And so you will notice different things from your plants starting at the fall than you do in the summer. You'll notice mine are leaning more this way, and this is because that's where the sun is coming up now, slightly over to this side in the morning. Okay, I'm going to go over to the porterweed. I've shared with you that there's a male ruby throat that just flew by. I've shared with you that as you know, if you follow my channel, I'm a huge porterweed fan. This one happens to be a dwarf porterweed. It's called a red dwarf, and you'll notice it's not dwarf, it's pretty large. Right now it's probably 4.5 feet tall, and it blooms from spring until frost. It does have a more slender bloom spike, this dwarf one does, and a little bit smaller blooms, but both butterflies and hummingbirds love this flower, and porterweed is visited by these hummingbirds. It's so interesting to watch them because they love porterweed, and in fact I have a porterweed right in front of my kitchen window, and as I'm at the kitchen window I can look out and see, and inevitably either a bumblebee or a hummingbird or a butterfly is close up against the window, and I can see them really, really close. You'll notice this plant spike right here. This is a red Russellia, and this is a unique plant in that the leaf is more like looks like a needle, but it's not sharp. And that is a favorite of hummingbirds also. I will have hummingbirds on this garden bed, in this garden bed all of the time. And especially with the cardinal climber here, and then the salvia and the different layers, they go to the flowers way more than they do the hummingbird feeders. But I do have the feeders to attract them so they can see as they are coming down and migrating through. All right, I am going to slightly turn this way. You can hear, I don't know if this is coming across on the sound, but the hummingbirds are just really, really tweeting and squeaking, and I love it. This happens to be a flame acanthus. This is a native Texas plant. It is a bush, and you'll notice that it has a red tubular shaped flower. It's a host plant for the Texas crescent butterfly, but it also is a pollen producer, and pollinators love that particular bloom. My Turk's cap isn't looking great. It's still blooming, but it's starting to lose its leaves, which it does in the fall, and mine seemed to lose its leaves a little bit sooner. But the Turk's cap bloom is also a favorite of my hummingbirds. And they will come down. This looks like an unopened hibiscus flower that never opens, and it's still blooming, so I still have some blooms, so they are still visiting. Summertime heat, fall heat, this is really when firebush shines, and it shines so beautifully. This is a predominantly red colored firebush, and firebush blooms beautifully. It blooms prolifically, and it is visited. Oh, the hummingbirds went to the flame acanthus. It's all over in there. I don't know if you saw the movement over in here, but they also like to perch themselves on the long spikes of these porterweed. I have a purple porterweed here and a red porterweed there, and they just are at these plants all throughout the day. I have a feeder in between, so when they're going over and flying over, they can see the red, so they are attracted, or at least enticed, to come down and visit. And usually when they come down and visit, then they stay. I wanted to come in the back towards my back fence. So this is facing south, and I've got firebush all along throughout here. Firebush does really well for us down here in the south. It loves a hot and humid climate. It has the blooms for your pollinators, and it also has the berries, and birds will eat the berries. So this is a larger leafed firebush. This one is a smaller leaf firebush. It has smaller berries, smaller flowers, but hummingbirds, bumblebees alike love firebush. And then way in the back I have my Mexican flame vine that is just flourishing. I have found the spot for it. It's hard to see because of the firebush, but I think it appreciates the shade on its roots, so it's all protected down low. And here it is all the way up high, all along the trellis on the fence. So a native plant, native to many states in the United States, is coral honeysuckle. And this plant flowers prolifically in the spring. So for spring migration, it is covered in blooms. And there aren't a lot of plants that are covered in blooms in March, but this plant is. And hummingbirds also love this. It will flower throughout the season, but not prolifically like it does in the spring. And then it has berries. And let me see. Oh, I'm getting some berries starting to ripen. The birds love these berries. They also love to go in the vine itself. They're protected. And I have birds throughout these vines, this coral honeysuckle, all day long. It's fun. I walk out here and I walk to the back and to the side, and it's just full of birds. And they'll fly out and typically go then into my neighbor's bushes and wait until I go, and then they come back in the coral honeysuckle. I think they're combing the bush for this viney bush for the berries. So I strategically try to place my plants all throughout my yard. You'll see here I've got a pink porterweed. I have a coral porterweed in the center. I try to locate my flowers so the birds will be able to have variety going all throughout the yard. Hummingbirds will go to my hibiscus flowers also. This one happens to be the blue chiffon rose of Sharon. You'll notice that its leaves are starting to change. That is purely based on the length of the day. It's certainly still very hot here. I think yesterday we were 96. It gets down into the high 70s at night, so we are not by any chance in fall, but they detect patterns in the sun changing. And this rose of Sharon will lose all of its leaves, but it is still blooming, and the hummingbirds do like to visit hibiscus blooms. And I mentioned porterweed. I have different colors. They love porterweed, so I try to have a lot of porterweed in the yard. And then as I look this way, you can see I've got lots of amistad and amante blooms. Ooh, I see a volunteer passion vine I need to pull up out of there. But they are at these vines all the time. You'll notice I have a tiny little stand here of Salvia leucantha, or the Mexican bush sage, right by my amante, and then the giant, the Kufia, or the David Verity. And the hummingbirds are really loving this Salvia leucantha, or Mexican bush sage, because I see them going there first or second, just to get at the nectar early in the morning. This is an invasive vine that is our neighbor's that we have to cut back. This is called the trumpet vine, or trumpet creeper. They love this. I don't like it because it's very invasive. It actually gets in the wood and damages your wood. So we have to clean this back every year, twice a year, because it is so invasive. The interesting thing is the folks that, I don't even know if they originally planted it, but they certainly have it in the corner away from them, but it certainly affects all of us. So my neighbor next to me here has it all throughout her fence also. But this shaped flower, they love. You'll notice the seed, it's full of ants. I just do not care for this invasive plant. I wish they hadn't planted it. It causes us some consternation, if you will, a couple times a year. So even though the hummingbirds do visit my hummingbird feeders, and I use a specific type of feeder called a platform feeder. And I did a video on this a couple of years ago because I've tried so many different types of feeders. I'm going to link that video up at the top for you. I do have a few placed throughout the yard, and they will go to them, but they absolutely prefer the blooms and the insects, the tiny little insects and gnats. They so prefer them to the feeders, but I do have the feeders to supplement. Hummingbirds will also go to little flowers. You'll see hummingbirds. I'll see hummingbirds visiting my lantana, which seems so... I'm not surprised to see butterflies and pollinators, but I'm very surprised to see when my hummingbirds come down and visit these small little blooms. So they will visit lantana. They will visit pentas. And it's pretty surprising to me. I have some that really like to come down and visit coleus flowers. You can see a honeybee on these flowers at the moment. I don't let my coleus bloom until now. In fact, this last week and a half, I've started to let them bloom. Otherwise, I pinch their blooms back. And the reason I pinch their blooms back all throughout the season is because I want the coleus to concentrate on the foliage. But now I'm going to let it start concentrating on producing the blooms, because they are such a wonderful hit with all the pollinators. Look how tiny that bloom is. But they come and visit. And I will sacrifice the beautiful foliage, because that'll start to get scraggly, for the blooms. Another one that was so surprising to me is this hanging basket. It flowers, and it's been flowering. This is a wandering Jew, and I don't have any active blooms at the moment. They'll open up a little bit later here, but you can see how tiny this bloom is. My hummingbirds are going to this plant. I was so stunned to see them. I wouldn't think that they'd even care about a tiny little bloom, but they have been visiting this particular plant. Isn't that interesting? So here I'm on the north end of my garden, and I have lots of different types of blooms, lot of tubular shaped blooms, salvia, host plants. When you have a diversity and you have them all over your yard, you are going to invite all different kinds of pollinators to your garden. And it's so much fun to have life in the garden. So whether you're a master gardener or a novice gardener, it's so much fun to invite nature into your yard. You can start small by just adding a few plants. If you can't plant them in the ground, you can certainly add a few containers. During hummingbird migration, you could add a few plants in addition to a feeder, and it really does bring and add so much more dimension to your gardens. What do you find that is real successful in your yard? I wanted to share with you a few things that I have found are just huge attractors to my hummingbirds at this time of year. What do you find are real attractors to the pollinators in your gardens? I'm also going to be doing, I don't know if you can see the hummingbirds flying through. I'm also going to be doing a video on what I've noticed the butterflies really flocking to. And the butterflies have been in abundance over the last couple of weeks. So that has been a lot of fun too. So thank you for joining me. I so hope you have a wonderful day today. And I hope to see you again soon.